Welcome to your deep dive into what's really going on in the Santa Clara County real estate market, October 2024. We've got a stack of reports, all the latest numbers.
Charts and graphs galore.
Yeah, enough to make your head spin, right?
Absolutely.
But don't worry, that's what we're here for. We'll break it all down so you can walk into any real estate conversation, whether you're buying or selling.
Or just listening to this podcast.
Exactly, feeling like you're the expert. So first up, the Fed, they made a pretty big move in September, dropped that benchmark interest rate.
First time since 2020.
Yeah, first time since 2020. And get this, some analysts are saying we might see even more rate cuts before the year's out.
Now, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
For sure, especially for anyone looking to buy.
Because think about it. Lower interest rates. That usually means lower mortgage rates.
Mm-hmm.
And lower mortgage rates usually mean...
more money in your pocket.
Exactly.
But, and there's always a but.
Right.
Mortgage rates. Well, they took a little roller coaster ride recently, dipped down to their lowest point since, I think it was February.
February 23.
23, yeah. But then shot right back up after that jobs report came out.
Yeah, strong jobs report. That can spook the market sometimes.
Seems like it. So what's the takeaway? I guess buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
And stay informed. Knowledge is power, my friend.
Couldn't agree more. Speaking of things that are in high demand, let's talk inventory. Or should I say the lack thereof?
It's like trying to find a decent cup of coffee after 2 p.m. Scarce.
So good news for sellers, not so much for buyers.
Unless you're one of those people who loves a challenge, then it's like game on.
All right, let's zoom in a bit. Focus on Santa Clara County specifically. Prices have cooled down a bit since that peak we saw in Q2.
Right. Remember those crazy numbers?
But even with the dip, they're still up over 3% compared to last year at this time.
Seasonality, it's a thing, but still something to keep in mind.
For sure. So let's break down those median sales prices for our listeners. 3-bedroom house in Santa Clara County, you're looking at around $1.73 million.
A cool 1.7.
Condo life, more your style. 2 bedrooms averaging about $805,000.
Big difference there.
Right. And here's what's interesting. Condos aren't seeing the same appreciation rates as single-family homes.
Yeah, it's like they're stuck in second gear or something.
What do you think's driving that?
I think it's a couple of things. Condos, they tend to be more popular with first-time buyers, right? And first-time buyers, they're usually relying more on financing.
Which can be tough with interest rates bouncing around like
you said, roller coaster.
Plus, don't forget that whole pandemic shift. People wanting more space, a yard, maybe even a home office.
That backyard barbecue, you know.
Makes those single-family homes pretty appealing.
It's all connected, my friend. All connected.
Speaking of connected, you mentioned earlier how important context is when you're looking at real estate data.
Yeah, numbers can be deceiving if you don't know the whole story.
So true. We were looking at some of the data for Los Altos Hills, and let me tell you, talk about eye-opening. The median house lot size there, 1.1 acres.
1.1 acres. Can you imagine?
That's like a whole city block in some places.
That's Los Altos Hills for you. You're not just buying a property, you're buying a piece of history, prestige, and space, obviously.
Space to roam, for sure. But that also means
a hefty price tag.
You got it. And then there's the whole competition factor. Santa Clara County is seeing a huge percentage of homes selling for over asking price.
Motivated buyers, my friend. Highly motivated.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to dig deep into those pockets.
It's like a bidding war frenzy out there.
Pretty much. And you know what's interesting? I think part of it is that we're still seeing the ripple effects of the pandemic.
How so?
Well, remember those crazy low interest rates from a couple of years back? A lot of homeowners lock those in.
Makes sense. Why give that up if you don't have to?
Exactly. So they're staying put. Less inventory, more competition. It's a classic case of supply and demand.
So we've got fluctuating interest rates, a competitive market, and homeowners sitting pretty with their low rates. What's a buyer or seller to do?
Well, that's what we're here to break down. Don't worry, we've got you covered.
Okay, so let's say you're listening to all of this and you're thinking, okay, should I sell my place? Should I stay put? What would you say to someone who's thinking about selling in Santa Clara County right now?
Well, it's still a seller's market for sure, but, you know, that doesn't mean you can just stick a sign in the yard and expect a bidding war.
Right. It's not like it was maybe a year or two ago.
Exactly. You got to put in a little effort. I mean, think of it this way. You're not just selling a house. You're selling that Silicon Valley lifestyle.
So staging is key. Those open houses have to be on point.
Absolutely. You want those buyers to walk in and be like, okay, yeah, I can see myself working from home here, coding all night.
Sipping my cold brew. Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, pricing is everything. Don't be afraid to be a little aspirational.
But also realistic. That's where having a good agent comes in, right?
Oh, absolutely. A
Yeah.
good agent is like having a Sherpa guide you up Mount Everest. They know the terrain, they know the pitfalls. They can get you to that summit, which is, the best possible price.
And hopefully a smooth closing. All right, now let's flip the script. What about the buyers out there? Any advice for those brave souls venturing into this market?
Well, I'd say, first of all, be prepared. This isn't window shopping, you got to be ready to move fast when you see something you like.
Have those pre-approval letters ready to go?
Oh, absolutely. And be flexible. You might not get everything on your wish list, especially in this market.
Compromise is key.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get creative with your offer. Maybe throw in a closing cost credit or something.
Speaking of creativity, I remember we were looking at the data, and Los Altos Hills, that's a whole other ballgame.
Oh, yeah, Los Altos Hills. It's like stepping into another world, really.
Those lot sizes.
I know that 1.1 acres, that's not a typo. You could have a vineyard up there.
A vineyard, a horse stable, whatever your heart desires, but of course that comes with a price tag to match.
Well, yeah, you're paying for exclusivity, history, and, let's be honest, bragging rights.
Yeah, I live in Los Altos Hills, no big deal.
Exactly. But, not everyone's looking for that. Some people, they just want a nice place to call home without having to win the lottery first.
Right, so what about those buyers? What are some other areas they might want to consider? Places that are maybe a little more budget friendly.
Well, I'm glad you asked because there are actually some really interesting pockets popping up all over Santa Clara County. You've got Alum Rock, for example.
Alum Rock.
Yeah, it's got a lot of that like up-and-coming energy, great sense of community, some really cute houses, and the prices are still relatively, attainable.
Attainable, that's the magic word these days.
Right. And then you've got parts of San Jose that are really starting to, come into their own.
Like which ones?
Well, Japantown's always been cool, but it's getting even cooler. Lots of new restaurants and shops popping up. And then you've got areas like the Rose Garden and Willow Glen, which have always been desirable, but they're seeing some more like younger families moving in, which is always a good sign.
Right, so it's a mix of like established neighborhoods and then some that are maybe a little more, like you said, up and coming.
Exactly, and that's what's exciting. There's something for everyone in Santa Clara County. You just got to know where to look.
And that's where you come in. So we talked about single-family homes, but let's circle back to condos for a second. I know we touched on it earlier, but it seems like they're not quite seeing the same price jumps as houses.
Yeah, it's like the condo market's taking a little breather, which, depending on your perspective, could be a good thing.
Good for buyers, maybe not so much for sellers.
Exactly. But even though it's a little slower, it's still a seller's market overall.
So for those buyers who are thinking, okay, maybe a condo is the way to go, what should they keep in mind? It's not just about finding the right place, right? There's a whole other layer when it comes to condos.
Oh, absolutely. HOAs, my friend.
Yeah.
Those three letters can be a blessing and a curse.
The mysterious HOA. What do they actually do?
Well, they maintain the property, which is great. You don't have to worry about landscaping or fixing the roof. But they also have rules, lots of rules.
Right, those infamous condo rules.
Exactly. So, if you're thinking about buying a condo, do your homework, get a copy of those CC&Rs, those are the rules, and read them carefully.
Don't want any surprises.
Exactly. You don't want to move in and find out you can't have your, prized collection of garden gnomes on your balcony.
Or a pet parrot.
Or a pet parrot, yeah.
So we've talked about the micro level, but let's zoom out again. The Fed, they hit the pause button on those interest rate hikes, and there's even whispers of potential cuts on the horizon. What does that mean for Santa Clara County?
Well, it's definitely good news for buyers, especially those who might have been feeling priced out. Lower rates could mean lower mortgage payments, which could put those dream homes back within reach.
So a little bit of breathing room.
Maybe. But remember, the economy's a fickle beast. Those rates could just as easily swing back up. It's a waiting game, and we're all watching closely to see what happens next.
Always a roller coaster. And speaking of things that are always in demand, let's talk about renting in Santa Clara County. What's the situation there?
Well, imagine trying to find parking at Santana Row on a Saturday night. It's tough out there.
So still a landlord's market.
Oh, very much so. Rents are high, vacancies are low, and competition is fierce. If you're thinking about renting in this market, be prepared to act fast and maybe adjust your expectations a little.
Right, maybe that in-unit washer-dryer isn't a deal breaker after all.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to prioritize.
So it sounds like whether you're buying, selling, or renting, this market is all about being informed, being prepared, and maybe having a little bit of luck on your side.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Knowledge is power, my friend. So keep listening to podcasts like this, talk to your local real estate agent, and stay informed.
Wise words. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Santa Clara County real estate market for October 2024. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, maybe had a few laughs along the way.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
And remember, whether you're a seasoned investor or a first-time buyer, we're here to guide you through the ever-changing world of Silicon Valley real estate. Until next time, happy house hunting.